In this video, we're going to look at taking lines and creating some interesting forms around them. So I'm just going to start off by making a couple of random shapes. And these are all just simply flat shapes. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and consider them as having form, so we can create some interesting connections between them and create some depth. Right now there is no depth because there's no depth to it, right? So let's start off by establishing some kind of a ground plane. And I love doing these kind of exercises because it really helps me brainstorm and come up with something interesting. I can, turn this, for example, into some kind of a hut. I can add some texture. Create some rocks. We can create a little pathway. And what we're doing by kind of affording this idea here is we're creating some depth. We're taking those lines and we're actually giving them some form. We're throwing down some texture. Remember, with stairs, you have certain areas that, you've got the flat part and then you've got the step part, right? And maybe we'll break up the pattern by having some grass and other vegetation growing along this path. Let's add a little bit more of that so it looks like it's a little bit, kind of going into the weeds. So now if we zoom out, we can see that we've already got some depth here. We've got also a clear focal point. These stairs are creating they're a repeated element that is moving us through leading lines to this cabin that's up here at the top. By putting these contours, I'm implying a surface topology on these objects. I'm converting this one, for example, into a rock. They don't all have to be rocks, You could have something that kind of looks a little bit ominous. This adds a little bit of a narrative element And this right here, let's see, what could that be? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it could be another house. Maybe this house has some shingles. And again, you don't have to repeat every single shingle. You just have to draw just a few. You know, adding some thickness, I think, will help. Maybe this particular window is going to be much bigger. Maybe there's another pathway that comes out. Same thing with bricks. You don't have to draw every single brick. You just have to draw enough. Just a few here. What I like about this exercise is it really gives you the ability to go beyond what you normally would draw. You know, art block is kind of a thing that, you know, I hear so many times where people don't know what to draw or they're stuck. And it does happen, but you know, you got to find ways around it. Let's throw in a couple of trees. I'm bearing these leaves, just kind of intimating that there's leaves there, but I'm not drawing every single one. And maybe underneath this area right here, it's going to be darker because that part of the tree is not receiving light. And also helps give it some form. And here I've got some texture. Some grass. So I've got these really interesting stairs, and let's just go ahead and add to this. I'm not sure what this is going to be, but let's give it some contours and find out. So perhaps let's make the rocks a little bit more jagged. Texture is really important. You want your objects, even in the black and white scale, to kind of still represent something, you know? So texture and form, super important. Now, let's see. We'll take this. Kind of create a set of leading lines. Maybe it runs into an area where you can kind of see it kind of converging to this staircase over here. We'll let the audience kind of come up with that connection. throw in a few more trees. Maybe this is out in the woods somewhere. It can be tempting to draw every single thing, but sometimes less is more. Minimalism is often underrated, in my opinion. So I've got these trees here, and maybe there's more trees. Let's make this tree a lot taller, where you can't even see the peaks. We'll put maybe a few more trees in the back there. I want to just go ahead and create little pockets of darkness there. Overlap is a really important tool too. When you have one object appearing in front of another object, that creates depth. And overlap is just simply putting one object in front of another in such a way that you can see both objects. So I've got a lot of light values here, right? And we've kind of established through leading lines our focal point, but now we can go back in and we can start to think about our lighting. Where is the light going to be coming from, or what looks the most interesting, or what kind of mood do we want to set by this particular piece? So I think it might be kind of neat to have the lighting, and I'll just draw this in a separate layer here, where the lighting is kind of coming down from the top right. And what that would mean is that everything that is not receiving direct light will be getting some shade, right? And what this does is it kind of gives a little bit more solidity and not everything is going to be super dark, but you do want a little bit of that contrast. Let's zoom in and see where we have our gaps. There we go. Maybe nobody's home in this house. I'll make my brush a little bit bigger, just to add some vegetation that's going to be really close by. Just to kind of break things up a little bit. Add some hatching to these trees. Line art's important, but also adding some black fills, I think, really just gives your drawings a little bit more depth. Your drawing should still give us a sense of time of day, and it should look solid before you start adding colors in. Don't use colors as a way of compensating for flatness in your drawing, because it won't help. All right, so now that I've got everything established, I can merge those layers. Let's get rid of my light source here, and now we've got a structure. So what we've done here is we've just simply taken a set of random lines and we've now created an environment using just those random lines. I'm going to finish this up. And I'm going to make this a two-parter. In the next video, I'll actually show some coloring techniques on how to, bring this scene to life. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.